For years, you've been told that if your desire is más baja, if you feel less drive, less spark in your intimate life, it's simply age, hormones, or stress. Very pocas personas escuchan la pregunta incómoda pero poderosa. Could it be your coffee? And not just how much you drink, but when you drink it? Because the same cup that wakes you up can quietly drain your intimate energy if it llega en el momento equivocado. That's what we're going to desarmar hoy. The coffee timing that kills your libido and the timing that can actually support it. I'm Susan Parker, and here we talk about well-being, longevity, and intimate health in the real world, with science explained in simple language and always with respeto. My goal in this episode is very directo, that when you finish listening, you know exactly which coffee habits are sabotaging your energy, your mood, and your desire without you noticing, and what tiny adjustments can turn that same ritual into an ally for your circulation, your hormones, and your confidence in intimacy. Let's start with a picture that might sound familiar. You wake up already tired. Maybe you didn't sleep that well. Before even thinking, your hand reaches for a big mug of coffee. You drink it on an empty stomach, scroll your phone, rush into your day. Mid-morning, your energy drops. You pour another cup. After lunch, you feel heavy and sleepy, so you go again, más café. At night, you're wired, but exhausted, brain racing, body tenso. You go to bed late, sleep lightly, and the next morning, the only thing that seems to move you is once again, coffee. From fuera, this looks like a normal routine, but inside your body, something muy different is happening. Your nervous system is living in a permanent on state. Your stress hormones don't have clear peaks and valleys. Your sleep cycles are fragmented. Your blood vessels receive mixed signals, sometimes constrict, sometimes dilate, sometimes hold tension. And your intimate energy, that quiet inner yes, doesn't flourish in that environment. Desire doesn't love haste, hypervigilance, or constant survival mode. It loves safety, rhythm, and presence. To understand why timing matters so much, we need a quick and sencilla look at what caffeine does. In your brain, there is a molecule called adenosine that acts like a natural brake. As the day goes on, adenosine levels rise, and you feel more tiredness. Caffeine sits on the same receptors, blocking the signal. You feel awake, but the adenosine sigue, waiting. When caffeine wears off, that accumulated tiredness can hit you like a wave. At the same time, coffee can increase cortisol and adrenaline, especially when you drink it very early, on an empty stomach or in moments of high stress. Now add another layer. Libido is not created in a vacuum. It depends on your nervous system feeling safe enough to shift from fight or flight mode to what we call rest and connection mode. It depends on circulation reaching every region of your body, including the pelvic area. It depends on hormones that follow a natural rhythm across the day, cortisol rising in the morning, then gradually lowering, while other signals related to repair, recovery, and intimate well-being take the stage. When coffee timing is off, it doesn't just wake you up, it can disturb ese ritmo. Let's look at the first critical window, those first 60 to 90 minutes after waking. Naturally, your body releases a big wave of cortisol to help you wake up, move, think, and start your day. That spike is normal, healthy, and necesario. When you pour strong coffee right into that moment, especially on an empty stomach, you're stacking stimulation on top of stimulation. You may feel a sharp rise in alertness, but you're also teaching your nervous system that mornings equal urgency, pressure, and internal noise. Over time, that pattern can show up as anxiety, shaky focus, crashes later in the day, and a kind of background stress that is not friendly to intimate desire. Just as important is the second window, late afternoon and evening. Caffeine has a half-life of roughly 5 to 7 hours, which means that half of what you drank is still active in your system many hours later. If you take a large coffee at 4, 5, or 6 in the afternoon, a significant portion of that caffeine todavía está contigo when you're trying to sleep. You may fall asleep, but your deep sleep can be lower in quality. and your nervous system can stay closer to the surface. The next day, you wake up less restored, with less natural hormonal balance, and your libido feels more like an old memory than a living signal. The third window is more subtle, the moments justo antes de la intimidad. Many people, especially when they feel tired or insecure, use coffee or energy drinks as a quick fix before an important encounter. It might give you short-term confidence, but physiologically, you are activating more sympathetic, fight-or-flight energy. Your heart rate rises, your breathing becomes shallower, your muscles tense. For intimacy, your body actually needs the opposite: a shift towards calm, slower breathing, warm circulation, and a clear, grounded mind. A little ritual of connection, not an internal alarm. So, what does libido-friendly coffee timing actually look like? The first key is simple. Give your natural morning cortisol wave time to rise and fall before you add caffeine. Practically, that means delaying your first coffee about 60 to 90 minutes after waking. During that window, hydrate, move suavemente, expose your eyes to natural light if you can, and give your body the chance to wake itself up. When you finally drink that first coffee, it will still lift your alertness. But you're no longer teaching your system that it needs an external push every single morning just to function. The second key is to anchor your coffee to food. Coffee on a completely empty stomach can be harsh for some people. It can irritate the digestive tract, spike cortisol more sharply, and create a jittery, fragile kind of energy. When you take your coffee after a light breakfast that includes some protein and healthy fats, for example, eggs, yogurt, nuts, or a small portion of cheese, you give your body a more stable base. Your blood sugar rises in a more balanced way, your energy is smoother, and your nervous system receives the message of stability, not emergency. The third key is what I call the mid-morning window. For many adults, especially in midlife, the most libido-friendly time for coffee is between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m., adapting it to your wake-up time. In this stretch, your natural cortisol has started to descend. Your brain is fully online, and a moderate dose of caffeine can support focus, motivation, and mood without pushing your nervous system to a constant red zone. In that state, your productivity your creativity improves, and you still keep enough physiological room for desire later in the day. Now we need to talk about the late afternoon danger zone. If you value your intimate health, your sleep, and your hormone balance, think of any coffee after about 3 or 4 p.m. as something to questionar seriamente. This doesn't mean never again, but it does mean that late coffee should be the exception, not the rule. When you stop caffeine earlier, you're gifting your brain the chance to build and release melatonin without interference. You improve the depth of your deep sleep, which is when your body repairs tissues, recalibrates hormones, and regenerates the very systems that support libido. Sleep is one of the strongest natural regulators of desire. When you sleep poorly, night after night, your body shifts resources towards pure survival. It becomes more protective, less exploratory. Many people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s creen que su deseo bajó por la edad, cuando en realidad lo que bajó fue la calidad de su descanso. And a big, silent contributor is that late coffee that felt harmless. Changing that one habit can create a surprising difference in your morning energy, your mood, and your intimate interest over the next weeks. There is another piece that importa mucho: coffee timing and blood sugar. Many people pair coffee with refined sugar, pastries, or very sweet drinks. If that happens repeatedly, especially early in the day, you can create a pattern of sharp sugar peaks followed by crashes. Those crashes bring irritability, fatigue, and cravings for more sugar or caffeine. In the long term, this can damage insulin sensitivity, contribute to abdominal fat, and create a metabolic environment that is not friendly to libido. By moving your coffee to a time where your meal includes real food, protein, some healthy fat, maybe fiber, you protect your blood sugar, and with it, your hormonal balance. Hormones related to libido do not live isolated in one organ. They are part of an orchestra that includes metabolic health, thyroid function, adrenal response, and the balance between stress and recovery. When coffee timing is chaotic, very early, very late, always on an empty stomach, always as a fix after a crash, that orchestra receives conflicting directions. Some instruments try to play louder to compensate, others almost disappear. When coffee timing is conscious, you give rhythm to that orchestra instead of confusing it. Let's bring this down to earth with a story. Imagine Daniel, 52. He wakes up tired, drinks strong coffee immediately, no breakfast. At 11, he feels shaky and unfocused, so he drinks another cup with something sweet. After lunch, he hits a wall and uses more coffee to push through the afternoon. At night, his head is full, his body is tired, but he can't unwind. His desire is low, his patience thinner, his mind often elsewhere when he's with his partner. He decides to experiment. For 1 month, he delays his first coffee 90 minutes, eats a simple breakfast, moves his coffee into the mid-morning window, and stops all caffeine at 3 p.m. The first week is not perfect. He feels some morning fog because his body is adjusting. But something interesting happens. His crashes reduce. He notices he isn't desperate for sugar at 11. He feels more stable in the afternoon. The second week, he starts sleeping más profundo. He wakes up with a clearer head. The third week, he realizes that in the evening, he has enough calm energy to be present in conversations, to actually listen, to feel his body instead of just dragging it to bed. His libido did not magically reappear. It was always there, but it finally has a nervous system and a sleep rhythm that allow it to breathe. Let's imagine another case, Elena, 57. She loves coffee and had accepted that her desire was just part of getting older. Her pattern: light breakfast, large coffee at 8, another at 2 or 3 p.m., and sometimes an extra at 6 if she had to work late. She fell asleep exhausted, but woke frequently. She had waves of heat, nights of restless thinking, and mornings of emotional fragility. When she reviews her habits, she realizes she was asking her body for alertness at the very hours where her nervous system needed to start descending. She chooses a different approach, keeps her morning coffee, but moves it slightly later and takes it right after a more nourishing breakfast. Replaces the 2 or 3 p.m. coffee with herbal tea or water. Keeps the evening ritual of holding a warm mug, but fills it with decaf or rooibos. After 10 days, she notices that her evenings feel different. Her mind is less noisy. Her breathing is naturally más lenta. She is more receptive to affection instead of only wanting isolation. Over the next month, her sleep improves, her mood stabilizes, and her sense of connection with her own body deepens. The change wasn't a new medication or a dramatic supplement. It was simply respecting the relationship between coffee timing, sleep, and intimate well-being. So, how can you design your own libido-friendly coffee day? One simple structure looks like this. Wake up, hydrate with water, stretch or walk a few minutes, eat a small but real breakfast, and then enjoy your first coffee in that mid-morning window. If you want a second cup, keep it around late morning or very early afternoon. And treat 3 p.m. as a gentle limit. In the evening, protect your sleep like you would protect a valuable medicine. Let your brain wind down without caffeine and, if you want the comfort of a warm drink, choose something naturally free of stimulants. For some people, sensitivity to caffeine is higher. If you notice palpitations, tremors, anxiety, or trouble sleeping even with early coffee, your body puede estar diciéndote menos. In that case, reducing the total amount, switching one of your coffees to decaf, or diluting your coffee with more water or milk can be part of a libido-supporting strategy. It's not only about timing, it's also about dose. The idea is to reach that sweet spot where you feel mentally awake but physically calm. It's also important to say this clearly. Coffee is not the enemy. In many studies, moderate coffee intake appears compatible with long-term health and even associated with some benefits. The problem is not the bean, it's the rhythm. Using coffee as a crutch to cover chronic sleep debt, constant stress, and lack of movement is very different from using it as a conscious, moderate tool within a lifestyle that respects rest, nutrition, and emotional connection. There is another angle that often gets ignored: coffee and the stories you tell yourself. If every time you feel tired, sad, bored, or anxious, you immediately reach for coffee, the message you reinforce inside is, "I can't handle how I feel without a stimulant." Over time, that erodes confidence. Confidence is deeply tied to libido. When you prove to yourself that you can move through your day with more stability, with less dependence, you recover a feeling of inner solidity that is very attractive both to you and to others. And so I want to invite you to a simple experiment, a 14-day coffee timing reset. For 2 weeks, keep your total amount of coffee similar to what you usually drink, but change only when you drink it. Delay the first cup, anchor it to food, move it into the mid-morning window, cut it off in the early afternoon, and protect your evenings. During those 14 days, observe 3 things: your sleep, your mood, and your intimate interest. Write it down, even in phrases cortas. Give your body the chance to show you what it can do with a calmer nervous system and less interference at night. If you take medications, have heart issues, high blood pressure, or any specific condition, remember this is general educational guidance, not personal medical advice. Habla con tu profesional de confianza about how much caffeine is appropriate for you. But even within your safe range, the principle remains: timing matters. You can choose a timing that pushes your body towards constant urgency, or one that respects its rhythms and supports your intimate health. As you listen to all this, maybe you're realizing that your libido hasn't disappeared. It has been buried under fatigue, irregular sleep, and a nervous system that never truly lands. Coffee timing is not the only factor, but it's one of the easiest levers to move. You don't need to buy anything new. You don't need to live a perfect life. You just need to decide that your energy, your well-being, and your intimacy are worth the experiment. Coffee timing that kills your libido looks like this: very early, on an empty stomach, used to fight every crash, repeated late into the afternoon and evening, used as a replacement for rest. Coffee timing that can supercharge your libido looks very different. Later in the morning, after hydration and food, used once or twice to support focus, then set aside to let your nervous system descend, your sleep deepen, and your hormones recalibrate. If this message resonates with you, start small. Choose one thing. Maybe today you move your last coffee 1 hour earlier, or you decide that tonight your warm mug will be herbal instead of caffeinated. Observa como te sientes. Your body will respond. It always does when you create the right conditions. And if you notice in the coming weeks that your energy is steadier, your sleep is more profundo, and your intimate interest starts to wake up de nuevo, recuerda esto: it wasn't a miracle. It was you, adjusting a daily ritual that you already had in your hands. If you found this helpful, and you want more guidance on well-being, longevity, and intimate health in the real world, consider subscribing, sharing this with someone you care about, and leaving a comment with your experience. I'm Susan Parker, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care of your coffee timing, and your coffee timing will take care of you.